You are watching a car drive off a cliff in slow motion. You are sitting in the passenger seat. You see the edge coming. You see the road run out. You see the drop. And because you are a rational, caring human being, you do the only thing that makes sense. You grab the wheel. You scream. Turn left. You're going to crash. You panic. You intervene. You try to save them. And what happens? They don't thank you. They don't breathe a sigh of relief. They slap your hand away. They look at you with a mixture of annoyance and pity, and they say, "Relax. You worry too much. I know what I'm doing. Stop trying to control everything." So you let go. You sit back. Your heart is pounding in your throat. You grip the door handle until your knuckles turn white. And then, exactly as you predicted, the car goes off the cliff. The crash happens. The disaster you saw coming from a mile away becomes reality. The project fails. The relationship implodes. The money is lost. And here is the moment that breaks you. Here is the moment that keeps you up at night, staring at the ceiling, replaying the conversation over and over again. They crawl out of the wreckage, bleeding and bruised, and they turn to look at you. They don't say, "You were right." They don't say, "I should have listened." They say, "This is your fault." Pause. Let that sink in. They look you dead in the eye, and they blame you for the crash you tried to prevent. They tell you that your panic distracted them. They tell you that your negative energy manifested the failure. They tell you that if you hadn't been so overconfident and pushy, they would have navigated it just fine. You are standing there, holding the map that proves they were wrong, and somehow, you have become the villain of the story. This is the trap you walk into every single day. You think you are dealing with logic. You think that if you just explain the facts clearly enough, if you just point out the error in their code, the flaw in their logic, the hole in their plan, they will see it. You think you are being helpful, but they don't see help. They see a threat. When you correct someone who hasn't asked to be corrected, you aren't offering a life raft. You are offering an insult. You are highlighting their incompetence. And when that person is insecure, when that person is drowning in their own ego, your competence feels like an attack. They don't hear your words. They hear your tone. And to them, that tone screams, "I am better than you." You think you're showing them the right way. They think you're showing off. So they dig their heels in. They double down on the mistake just to prove you wrong. They would rather drive off the cliff and die than admit you were right and turn the wheel. And when they finally hit the bottom, they can't face the shame of their own stupidity. That shame is too heavy to carry. It's burning them alive. So they need to offload it. They need a container to dump that toxic waste into. And there you are, standing right there, with your "I told you so" face and your correct predictions. You are the perfect target. This is why your suggestions are dangerous. This is why your helpful advice is a loaded gun pointed at your own head. Think about the last time you gave someone a suggestion. You said, "Maybe try it this way." You were just brainstorming. You were just trying to optimize. If they take your suggestion and it works, they take the credit. They'll say, "I finally fixed it." You are erased from the success. But if they take your suggestion and it fails, even if it fails because they executed it poorly, even if it fails because of bad luck, it is entirely your fault. I only did it because you said so. You ruined this. You gave me bad advice. You own the failure. They own the success. It is a rigged game. It is a casino where the house always wins. And you are the gambler putting your reputation on the table for people who don't even value your currency. You need to understand the mechanism of what is happening here. When you interfere, you interrupt the natural feedback loop of reality. You step between the person and the consequences of their actions. You become the buffer. And because you are the buffer, you absorb the impact. You think you are saving them from pain, but you are actually stealing their lesson. And people will kill you for trying to teach them something they aren't ready to learn. You are walking through life with a desperate need to fix things. You see a crooked picture, you have to straighten it. You see a typo, you have to correct it. You see a bad decision, you have to warn them. Stop. Freeze that impulse. That impulse is your weakness. That impulse is the reason you are exhausted, undervalued, and blamed for things you didn't do. That impulse is why they view you as arrogant instead of an asset. You have to change the fundamental architecture of how you interact with stupidity. You have to stop trying to be the brakes on their train. The title of this philosophy is brutal, and it is necessary. Don't correct them. Let them hang themselves. This isn't about malice. This isn't about hoping people fail. It is about the cold, hard physics of human nature. Gravity exists whether you like it or not. If someone wants to jump, you cannot catch them without being pulled over the edge yourself. You have been playing the role of the martyr. You have been throwing your body in front of the bullets meant for their mistakes. And you're surprised that you're the one bleeding? It ends today. We are going to dismantle the savior complex that is destroying your peace. We are going to look at the dark reality of why you interfere and why that interference is actually a form of self-sabotage. You are going to learn to watch the crash. You are going to learn to stand on the sidelines, hands in your pockets, face completely neutral, and watch the inevitable unfold. You are going to learn the power of silence. Because when you stop correcting them, when you stop filling the silence with your solutions, you force them to face the one thing they have been avoiding their entire lives. Themselves. You are sitting in a meeting. Or maybe it's a dinner table. It doesn't matter where you are. The geometry is always the same. Someone is speaking. They are speaking with absolute authority about something they clearly do not understand. They are getting the facts wrong. They are misinterpreting the data. They are building a strategy on a foundation of sand. And you feel it rising in your throat. The itch. The compulsion. You wait for a pause. You clear your throat. You put on your kind face. You say, actually, if we look at the numbers from Q3, the trend is actually the opposite. I think we should be careful here. You think you just saved the company money. You think you just prevented a misunderstanding. You think you are being a team player. But look at their face. Look at the micro-expression that flashes across their eyes before the mask slams back down. It's not gratitude. It's humiliation. And then, instantly, it's rage. In that split second, you didn't just correct a data point. You challenged their status. You signaled to everyone in the room, the boss, the spouse, the friends, that you know more than they do. You publicly stripped them of their authority, and they will never forgive you for it. Later, you hear the whispers. You hear what they said about you when you left the room. They didn't say, wow, he's so smart. They didn't say, she really knows her stuff. They said, God, they're so arrogant. They said, they always have to be the smartest person in the room. They said, they're so overconfident. They think they know everything. Overconfidence. That is the word they use to weaponize your competence against you. You are confused. You replay the tape. You weren't bragging. You weren't shouting. You were just right. You were just stating a fact. How is stating a fact arrogant? Here is the uncomfortable truth. To an insecure person, competence looks exactly like arrogance. When someone is drowning in their own uncertainty, when they are faking it till they make it, your clarity is not a life raft. It is a spotlight that shines directly on the one thing they are desperately trying to hide, their own inadequacy. Every time you correct them, you are peeling back the curtain. You are exposing the fraud. And people will fight to the death to protect their delusions. You treat information as a tool. You think, here is a better hammer. Let's build this house faster. But they treat information as a hierarchy. To them, you handing them a better hammer implies that their hammer was weak. It implies they are weak. So they reject the hammer. They reject the help. And they label you the villain. This dynamic creates a perverse incentive structure. The more right you are, the more they hate you. The more you try to help them avoid a pitfall, the more they view you as a controlling maniac who doesn't trust them. Stop trying to parent me, they say. I know what I'm doing, they lie. And you? You take it personally. You try to soften your delivery. You start using sandwich feedback techniques. You start saying maybe and perhaps and I could be wrong, but stop apologizing for reality. You are twisting yourself into knots to accommodate their ego. You are dimming your own light so it doesn't hurt their eyes. And it doesn't work. Because the problem isn't your delivery. The problem is your interference. They view your intervention as a vote of no confidence. When you step in to fix something they haven't broken yet, you are telling them, I don't trust you to handle this. And that is why they double down. That is why, when you say don't touch the stove, it's hot, they look you dead in the eye and slam their hand onto the burner. They do it to prove you wrong. They do it to assert their autonomy. They would rather burn their hand and own the pain than listen to you and owe you their safety. You call it helping. They call it condescension. There is a concept in psychology called reactance. It explains that when people feel their freedom of choice is being threatened, even by good advice, they instinctively push back. They will choose the worse option simply because it is their option. By correcting them, you trigger this reactance. You become the obstacle they have to defeat. You turn this situation into a battle of wills. It's no longer about the project or the driving directions or the financial investment. It is now about you versus them. And in that battle, logic does not matter. Consequences do not matter. The only thing that matters to them is winning. And winning means ignoring you. So, let's look at the alternative. What happens if you stay silent? What happens if you see the error, you see the bad math, you see the train wreck, and you do nothing? You sit there. You nod. You say, okay, that sounds like a plan. You remove the friction. You remove the you versus them dynamic. You remove yourself as the target of their insecurity. Now, it is just them versus reality. And reality is a much more effective teacher than you will ever be. Reality doesn't care about their ego. Reality doesn't care if they think it's arrogant. Reality just delivers the result. When you remove your arrogance from the equation, you leave them alone in the room with their own incompetence. There is no one else to blame. There is no know-it-all to point the finger at. But as long as you keep interfering, as long as you keep trying to be the good guy who fixes everything, you are providing them with the perfect distraction. They don't have to look at their own failure. They can look at your attitude. You are acting as a shield for their ego. You are the lightning rod absorbing the shock that should be hitting them. You think your silence is cruel? No. Your silence is the only mirror clear enough for them to see themselves in. Every time you correct them, you rob them of the opportunity to realize they are wrong. You interrupt the process of failure. And failure is the only thing that will ever cure their confidence. Let them be right. Let them be the smartest person in the room. Let them have the floor. And let them walk straight off the edge. You are tired of seeing people crash. So you change tactics. You stop trying to force them. You stop grabbing the wheel. Instead, you offer a gentle suggestion. Hey, maybe we should think about it this way. Just a thought. But what if? I'm not sure. But have you considered? You think you're safe. You think you've found the loophole. You aren't commanding, you're just suggesting. But here is the trap you didn't see coming. The blame boomerang. When you offer a suggestion to someone who is looking for a scapegoat, you are signing a contract. You are co-signing their loan. You are putting your fingerprints on the murder weapon. Let's play this out. Scenario A, they take your suggestion. They do exactly what you said. And because the universe is chaotic, or because they executed it poorly, it fails. The business loses money. The relationship ends. The car breaks down. Who do they blame? Do they blame themselves for asking? No. Do they blame bad luck? No. They blame you. I only did it because you suggested it. I had a gut feeling it was wrong, but I listened to you. This is your fault. You led me astray. Suddenly, their failure is your burden. You are carrying the weight of a decision that wasn't even yours to make. You were just a consultant, but now you're the criminal. Scenario B, they don't take your suggestion. They ignore you. They do it their way. And it fails. Do they admit they were wrong? Do they say, I should have listened? Rarely. Instead, they look at you and say, you didn't push hard enough. If you knew it was going to be this bad, why didn't you stop me? You just let me fail. You wanted this to happen. You cannot win. If you speak up, you're controlling. If you stay silent, you're negligent. If you suggest, you're liable. This is the double bind of dealing with toxic incompetence. No matter where you stand on the board, if you are on the board, you are part of the game. And in their game, the rules are simple. They are the victim, and someone else is always at fault. The suggestion is dangerous because it blurs the line of ownership. When you give a suggestion, you are stepping into their circle of responsibility. You are saying, I will take a piece of this burden. Why do you do it? Why do you offer the suggestion? Because you want to feel helpful. You want to be valuable. You think, if I contribute, they will appreciate me. But listen closely. Unsolicited advice is never viewed as a gift. It is viewed as a debt. When you give someone a solution they didn't ask for, you are creating a psychological debt. They now owe you for the advice. And the human ego hates debt. It hates feeling inferior. So instead of paying you back with gratitude, they pay you back with resentment. They resent that you saw the answer when they didn't. They resent that you had to step in. And if that answer turns out to be wrong, oh, the relief. The sweet relief they feel. Because now they don't have to owe you anything. Now, they can punish you. Now they can say, see, you're not so smart after all. They will crucify you for a suggestion that they chose to follow. This is why consultants have contracts. This is why lawyers have disclaimers. Because in the professional world, we know that advice is a liability. But in your personal life, in your friendships, in your family, you are handing out liability like it's candy. You should break up with him. You should invest in this stock. You should quit that job. Dangerous. All of it. If they break up and get lonely, your fault. If the stock crashes, your fault. If the new job is worse, your fault. You have just tethered your peace of mind to the outcome of their life. You have tied your boat to a sinking ship. You need to understand the power of not my problem. This sounds cold. It sounds heartless. It is not. It is a boundary. When someone comes to you with a mess they created, your instinct is to grab a mop. You start cleaning. You start suggesting which chemicals to use. Stop. Put the mop down. They created the mess. They need to clean it, or they need to sit in it. The moment you offer a suggestion, you are picking up the mop. You are engaging. You are validating their incompetence by compensating for it. The blame boomerang only hits you if you throw it. If you don't offer the suggestion, there is nothing to come back and hit you in the face. So what do you do instead? You mirror. You ask questions. You force the ownership back onto them. They ask, "What should I do?" You say, "That's a tough one. What do you think your options are?" They say, "I don't know, tell me." You say, "I can't make that choice for you. It's your life. What does your gut say?" Do you see the difference? You are supportive. You are present. But you are not involved. You are not touching the problem. You are keeping your fingerprints off the murder weapon. You are forcing them to hold the weight of their own decision. And yes, they might get frustrated. They might say, "You're no help." Good. Let them be frustrated. Frustration is the fuel for growth. If you do the thinking for them, they never grow. They remain children, looking for a parent to tell them what to wear. Don't be the parent. Don't be the scapegoat. When you offer a suggestion to a fool, you become the fool. You become the insurance policy for their bad judgment. Withdraw the policy. Let them drive uninsured. Let them feel the risk of the road. Because until they feel the weight of their own life, until they know that they and only they will pay the price for the crash, they will never learn how to drive. You think you are fighting a battle of logic. You think that if you just have the better argument, the better data, the better plan, you will win. You are wrong. You are fighting a battle of power. And in the game of power, the person who speaks the most, the person who argues the hardest, the person who tries the most desperately to convince, is the loser. Robert Greene, in the 48 Laws of Power, wrote Law 9. Win through your actions, never through argument. He also wrote Law 4. Always say less than necessary. Why? Why is argument the weapon of the weak? Because argument implies equality. When you argue with someone, you are elevating them to your level. You are saying, "Your opinion is valid enough for me to spend my energy fighting it." When you try to correct a fool, you lower yourself to the fool's vibration. You enter their frame. You play by their rules. And as the old saying goes, never wrestle with a pig. You both get dirty, and the pig likes it. The pig likes the argument. The incompetent person loves the debate. Why? Because as long as you are debating, they don't have to do anything. The debate is a stalling tactic. The debate is a smokescreen. As long as they are arguing with you about the map, they don't have to drive the car. They don't have to face the road. Sun Tzu, the ancient strategist, taught that the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting, to win without a single battle. How do you do that in your daily life? How do you defeat the incompetence around you without screaming yourself hoarse? The law of non-interference. This is not passivity. This is strategic disengagement. When you push against a wall, the wall pushes back. That is Newton's third law. Action and reaction. When you push your advice onto someone, they push back with resistance. They defend their ego. They defend their mistake. But what happens when you remove the force? What happens when you stop pushing? The wall has nothing to push against. The resistance collapses into a vacuum. Think of a judo master. They don't block the punch. They don't try to stop the train with their bare hands. They step aside. They use the opponent's momentum against them. When someone is rushing toward a mistake, they have momentum. They have speed. They have energy. If you stand in front of them and say stop, you get run over. But if you step aside, if you say go ahead, they fly past you. And they hit the wall that was behind you. The wall of reality. This is the psychological foundation of letting them hang themselves. It is about removing yourself as the obstacle so that they can collide with the consequences. You have been acting as the friction that slows them down. You think you are helping, but you are actually just delaying the inevitable crash. By stepping aside, you accelerate the process. You let the natural laws of cause and effect take over. This is terrifying for you. Because you are a control freak. We'll get to that. You believe that if you don't steer the ship, it will sink. But here is the truth. The ship is already sinking. The hole is already in the hull. You running around with a bucket isn't fixing it. It's just exhausting you. You need to let the water come in. You need to let them feel the cold wetness on their ankles. Only then will they pick up a bucket. Only then will they realize there is a hole. This mechanism operates on a primal level. Humans learn through pain. We are wired to avoid fire because it burns. If you never let the child touch the hot stove, if you always slap their hand away, they never learn the truth of the fire. They only learn the annoyance of the slap. You have been the slap. You need to let them feel the burn. This requires a shift in your internal definition of power. You think power is influence. You think power is having your voice heard. No. Power is autonomy. Power is self-preservation. Power is the ability to stand still while everyone else is losing their minds. When you argue, you leak power. You give it away. You show your cards. You show that you are affected. You show that you care what they think. When you are silent, you become a fortress. They don't know what you're thinking. They don't know if you agree or disagree. They don't know if you're plotting or sleeping. This silence makes them uncomfortable. It makes them anxious. And in that anxiety, they start to second-guess themselves. They start to look for the validation you aren't giving them. Well, don't you think I'm right? They ask. It's an interesting perspective, you reply. And you say nothing else. You give them nothing to grab onto. No handle. No hook. You are applying the psychological pressure of the void. You are letting their own words hang in the air, echoing, sounding more and more ridiculous the longer they hang there. When you correct them, you fix their logic for them. You patch the holes in their argument. When you stay silent, the holes remain. And eventually, the ship sinks. This is not about being passive-aggressive. It is about being strategic. It is about realizing that you cannot save someone who does not want to be saved, and you cannot teach someone who already thinks they know everything. So you stop teaching. You stop saving. You start watching. You become the gravity that just is. You don't argue with the apple. You just let it fall. You tell yourself a story about why you do this. You tell yourself, I just want the best for them. I just want the project to succeed. I can't stand to see good potential go to waste. You paint yourself as the benevolent mentor, the selfless guide, the weary guardian of quality. It's a lie. Let's strip away the paint and look at the rot underneath. Why can't you keep your mouth shut? Why does a wrong fact, a bad plan, or a stupid decision physically itch under your skin? It's not because you care about them. It's because you are terrified of losing control. You are a control freak. And your need to correct people is not an act of service. It is a mechanism of anxiety management. When you see someone driving toward a cliff, you don't just feel concern. You feel panic. You feel the chaos of the world creeping in. And you hate chaos. You have spent your entire life trying to organize the world, to make it logical, to make it safe. When someone comes along and introduces stupidity, they introduce chaos. They threaten your orderly universe. So you jump in. You correct. You fix. You steer. Not to save them, but to soothe yourself. You are using them as a stress ball. You are squeezing their life into a shape that makes you feel comfortable. And deeper than the control, it's the validation. Be honest. There is a tiny, dark part of you that loves it. You love being the one with the answer. You love being the reliable one. You love being the person everyone turns to when the building is on fire. It makes you feel necessary. It makes you feel superior. If you weren't this smart one who fixes everything, who would you be? You have built your entire identity around your competence. You have monetized your ability to see problems before they happen. You wear your burnout like a badge of honor. Look how hard I work trying to save these idiots, you say to your friends over drinks. You are addicted to the martyrdom. You get a dopamine hit every time you say, "Actually, that's incorrect." It's a rush of power. For a split second, you are the alpha. You are the teacher. You are the god of the microcosm. But this addiction is a trap. By needing to be the fixer, you attract the broken. By needing to be the adult, you attract the children. You are surrounding yourself with incompetent people because they are the only ones who allow you to play your favorite role. If you were surrounded by competent, independent equals, you wouldn't get to be the savior. You wouldn't get your fix. So you keep finding these people. You keep dating the projects that need saving. You keep working for the bosses who need managing. You keep befriending the disasters who need stabilizing. And then you complain about it. You cry about how tired you are. You rage about how no one listens. But you are the one handing them the script. You are the one who refuses to let them fail. Because if they fail, they might leave. Or worse, if they fail and recover on their own, they might realize they don't need you. And that is your biggest fear. Irrelevance. You are terrified that if you stop being useful, you will stop being loved. You think your value lies in your utility. You think you have to earn your place in the room by being the smartest person in it. This is why you correct them. You are screaming, "Look at me. I am valuable. I know things. Please don't discard me." It is pathetic, and they can smell it. They can smell the desperation in your advice. They can sense that you are correcting them for your sake, not theirs. That is why they resent you. They know you are using their problems to prop up your own ego. You are the janitor of other people's lives, sweeping up their mess, scrubbing their floors, and convincing yourself you own the building. You don't. You're just the help. And as long as you keep cleaning up after them, they will keep making messes. Why wouldn't they? They have a free maid. They have a free safety net. They have you. You need to kill the savior in you. You need to kill the part of you that needs to be right to feel safe. You have to learn to sit in the passenger seat, hands in your lap, watching the driver speed toward the wall, and feel the anxiety without acting on it. You have to let the chaos exist. You have to realize that your worth is not tied to your ability to prevent disasters. Let the disaster happen. Let the chaos reign. Let the silence stretch out. And in that silence, ask yourself, who am I when I am not fixing anyone? If the answer scares you, that is exactly why you need to stop. You need to face your own emptiness instead of trying to fill it with other people's problems. There is a phrase you have heard 1,000 times, a phrase that sounds cruel, archaic, and violent. Give them enough rope to hang themselves. You flinch at it. You think it means setting a trap. You think it means plotting someone's destruction. You think it implies malice. You are misreading the metaphor. The rope is not a weapon. The rope is freedom. The rope is autonomy. The rope is the very thing they have been screaming at you for. Let me do it my way. Stop looking over my shoulder. I don't need your help. They are begging for rope. And for years, you have been refusing to give it to them. You have been keeping the line tight. You have been holding them on a short leash, tugging them back every time they stumble, pulling them up every time they start to sag. You think you are being supportive. You think you are being a safety harness. But as long as you keep the rope tight, they never feel the weight of their own incompetence. They lean against your tension. They rely on your resistance to keep them upright. To give them rope simply means to let go, to introduce slack into the line. Here is the mechanics of the hang. When you step back and say, "Okay, the project is yours. Run it exactly how you see fit," you are handing them the entire coil of rope. You are granting them 100% of the authority. And with 100% of the authority comes 100% of the liability. Watch what happens. At first, they are euphoric. The annoying parent, you, is finally off their back. They strut. They make big declarations. They change the plan just to prove they can. They loop the rope around the room, tying knots in places that don't make sense, creating a labyrinth of complexity that only they understand. And you? You sit on your hands. You bite your tongue until it bleeds. You see the knot forming around their neck. You see the logic failing. You see the deadline approaching with zero progress. The old you would jump in. The old you would cut the knot. The new you watches. This is the dopamine slot machine of their ego. They are pulling the lever, spinning the wheels, convinced they are about to hit the jackpot of validation. They are convinced that this time, they will prove everyone wrong. And because you gave them the slack, because you gave them the space, there is nothing stopping the gravity of the situation from taking hold. When the floor drops out, when the client cancels, when the money runs out, when the partner leaves, the rope snaps taut. And because you aren't holding the other end, they are left dangling. This isn't you executing them. This is physics. This is the natural consequence of gravity acting upon an unsupported object. You must understand, you are not the executioner. You are simply the witness. There is a profound respect in this. Yes, respect. When you correct someone constantly, you are treating them like a child. You are saying, you are too small to handle reality. When you let them hang, you are treating them like an adult. You are saying, I respect your right to make your own choices, and I respect your right to suffer the consequences of those choices. It is the ultimate form of validation. You are validating their autonomy to the point of destruction. You asked for the wheel? Here are the keys. You asked for the lead? Here is the microphone. You asked for the truth? Here is the data. If they choke on the freedom they demanded, that is not your crime. That is their tragedy. But you have to commit to the drop. You cannot give them 90% of the rope and then grab the last 10% when you see them turning blue. That is the cruelest thing you can do. That is saving them just enough to keep them dependent, but punishing them enough to make them resentful. If you are going to let go, you must let go completely. You must let the email go unanswered. You must let the meeting happen without your prep doc. You must let the argument go unresolved. You have to watch the rope of their own logic tighten. They will say, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and it's going to triple our revenue. You know X is illegal, Y is impossible, and Z is stupid. You say, okay, let me know when you're ready to launch. You give them the rope, and then they spend 3 weeks trying to make X work. They burn their budget on Y. They alienate their team with Z. They wrap themselves up in a cocoon of their own bad decisions. And when they finally can't move, when they are bound and gagged by the mess they created, they can't blame you. They can't say, you held me back. You didn't. You gave them the room. They can't say, you didn't support me. You did. You got out of their way. The rope metaphor is about allowing the vacuum of their own incompetence to consume them. It is about trusting that reality is the ultimate judge. You don't need to sentence them. You don't need to build the gallows. Just hand them the rope. Smile. And step back. They will do the rest. Silence is not empty. Silence is heavy. Silence is a physical force that crushes everything that isn't true. When you stop correcting them, you create a vacuum. And in physics, we know that nature abhors a vacuum. It demands to be filled. So what happens when you, the constant fixer, the constant debater, the constant safety net, suddenly go quiet? They panic. They have spent their entire relationship with you leaning against your resistance. They rely on your pushback to define their position. They need you to be the bad guy so they can be the rebel. They need you to be the nag so they can be the free spirit. Imagine a man leaning with his full weight against a door, expecting it to be locked. And then you, standing on the other side, simply turn the handle and step away. He falls. He stumbles into the room, face first. He looks ridiculous. This is exactly what your silence does. For years, you have been providing the background noise that drowns out their insecurity. Your arguments, your logic, your helpful hints. It was all just noise that allowed them to avoid thinking. They could focus on fighting you instead of fighting their own incompetence. But now, the room is quiet. The noise is gone. And for the first time, they can hear the echo of their own voice. And it terrifies them. Watch them in this moment. It is fascinating. When you don't respond to their bait, they don't stop. They accelerate. They get louder. They get more extreme. They are trying to provoke a reaction. They are trying to find the wall again. They are desperate for you to engage because your engagement proves they matter. You're not saying anything. Do you think this is a bad idea? Silence means you agree, right? Why are you looking at me like that? They start filling the vacuum with word vomit. They start over-explaining. They start justifying decisions you haven't even attacked yet. I know it looks risky, but I've done the math. Well, not the exact math, but I have a feeling. Keep listening. Don't interrupt. And even if it fails, it's not really my fault because the market is weird. There it is. They are negotiating with themselves. They are arguing with their own conscience because you aren't there to argue with. You are forcing them to manifest their own doubts. When you correct them, you become the enemy. When you stay silent, the enemy becomes the voice in their own head. And that voice is far more cruel and far more accurate than you could ever be. This is the extinction burst. In psychology, when you stop reinforcing a behavior by removing your attention/reaction, the behavior spikes before it dies. The toddler screams louder. The manipulator gaslights harder. The incompetent boss micromanages more. They are testing the silence. They are trying to break you. Do not break. This is the most dangerous phase. You will want to speak. You will want to scream. You will want to say, "Stop digging your own grave." But you must let them dig. The vacuum draws out the truth. In the absence of your management, their true character floods the room. If they are lazy, they will do nothing. If they are malicious, they will become cruel. If they are stupid, they will become incoherent. You are removing the filter. You are taking the lid off the blender while it's still spinning. And here is the power shift. The person who speaks less holds the authority. In an interrogation room, the detective says very little. He lets the suspect talk. He lets the silence stretch until the suspect gets uncomfortable and starts filling the air with details they didn't mean to share. I didn't steal it. I was at the bar. And even if I was near the house, I didn't go in. The detective raises an eyebrow. I mean, the door was open, but... Got them. Your silence is the interrogation. You are interrogating their reality without asking a single question. You are letting them hang themselves with their own tongue. Every sentence they speak into the void is another knot in the rope. Every excuse they invent is another step off the ledge. And you? You are just the observer. You are the camera recording the event. This drives them mad. They want to paint you as the villain, but how can they? You haven't said anything mean. You haven't said anything at all. You are unassailable. You have become a mirror, a cold, flat, silver mirror. And when they look at you, they don't see your reaction. They see themselves. And they hate what they see. That is why they scream. That is why they accuse you of being cold, distant, aloof. They are attacking the mirror because they don't like the reflection. Let them attack. The mirror doesn't care. The mirror doesn't break. The vacuum is your greatest weapon. It costs you zero energy to deploy, but it costs them everything to fight. So zip your lip. Put your hands in your pockets. Lean back and listen to the sound of them falling apart. The moment has arrived. The crash happened. The deadline was missed. The client walked. The relationship imploded. The sure thing investment went to zero. You are standing in the smoking crater of their decision. And inside your chest, a balloon of vindication is inflating. It is expanding, pressing against your ribs, fighting to get out. You have the emails saved. You have the text messages where you warn them. You have the dates and times. You want to say it. God, you want to say it. I told you so. I warned you 3 months ago. Remember when I said this would happen? Next time, maybe listen to me. Do not speak. Bite your tongue until you taste copper. So your lips shut if you have to. Because if you say those words, you lose everything. This is the I told you so trap. It is the final defense mechanism of the incompetent. They are waiting for you to say it. They are praying for you to say it. Why? Because the moment you gloat, the moment you spike the football, you cease to be the oracle and you become the asshole. You shift the narrative instantly. Before you speak, the story is, they made a mistake and they are suffering the consequences. After you speak, the story becomes, you are kicking them when they are down. You give them an exit ramp. You give them a way to escape their own shame. They can stop thinking about their failure and start thinking about your cruelty. They can get angry at your arrogance instead of being crushed by their own stupidity. I can't believe you're rubbing it in right now, they will say. I'm hurting, and you're just trying to score points. And they are right. You are trying to score points. You are trying to cash in your rightness chips for a hit of ego. But those chips are worthless. Real power is not needing to say you were right. Real power is letting the reality stand so starkly, so undeniably, that saying, I told you so, would be redundant. Imagine the scoreboard is lit up in neon lights. It says home, 0, visitors, 50. You don't need to point at the scoreboard. Everyone can see it. If you point at it, you look insecure. You look like you're surprised you won. When they come to you, broken and defeated, you must do the hardest thing imaginable. You must be kind, not fake kind, not sarcastic kind, genuinely, terrifyingly neutral. I'm sorry it didn't work out. That sounds really hard. What do you want to do next? This destroys them. If you had gloated, they could have hated you. But because you are being gracious, because you are standing there, calm and collected, offering them a tissue while the building burns down behind them, they have nowhere to hide. They have to sit in the rubble with you, and they know that you knew. The fact that you aren't saying it makes it louder. Your silence screams, I am so secure in my competence that I don't need to humiliate you to prove it. This is how you preserve your status. The prophet who gloats is just another annoying nagger. The prophet who stays silent is a mystic, a leader, someone to be feared and respected. Think about the long game. You don't just want to win this argument. You want to change the dynamic. You want them to trust your judgment next time. If you say, I told you so, they will associate your advice with shame. Next time you warn them, they will reject it just to avoid giving you the satisfaction of being right again. They will spite fail just to deny you the win. But if you are gracious, if you are the safe harbor they crawl back to, next time they will ask, hey, what do you think about this? And they will actually listen. Because you proved that you aren't in this for the ego. You proved you aren't trying to parent them. You proved you are simply an observer of reality. This requires immense discipline. The urge to checkmate is primal. The urge to show the receipts is overwhelming. But you are not a petty clerk. You are a strategist. Let the failure do the work. The failure is the teacher. You are just the witness. Don't steal the lesson by making it about your victory. When you see the ropes snap tight, when you see them dangling there, realizing the magnitude of their mistake, don't laugh. Don't point. Just stand there. Solid. Unshakable. Right. And let the silence of your correctness deafen them. You call it support. You call it being a good friend. You call it loyalty. I call it theft. When you rush in to fix a mistake before it happens, you aren't just saving them time. You are robbing them of the most valuable asset a human being can possess. The lesson. Pain is data. Failure is feedback. Hitting rock bottom is a foundation. These are the mechanisms by which human beings upgrade their software. We do not learn when we are comfortable. We do not learn when we are rescued. We learn when we touch the stove and our brain screams, "Never do that again." But you are the thief in the night. You steal the stove. You steal the heat. You steal the scream. You cushion the fall so they never hit the bottom. You pay the debt so they never feel the scarcity. You finish the report so they never feel the panic of the deadline. And then you wonder why they never change. Why do they keep doing this, you ask? Why don't they learn? They don't learn because you won't let them. You are constructing a false reality around them. A simulation where cause does not equal effect. In their world, the world you built for them, stupidity has no cost. Laziness has no penalty. You are subsidizing their incompetence. Think about a muscle. If you want it to grow, you have to tear it. You have to stress it. If you went to the gym and lifted the weights for your partner, would they get stronger? No, they would atrophy. You are the reason they are weak. Pause. Read that again. You are the reason they are weak. Every time you save them, you are confirming their belief that they are incapable of saving themselves. You are training them to be helpless. You are teaching them that if they just wait long enough, if they just whine loud enough, the fixer will arrive. You think you are being a hero, but you are actually a drug dealer. You are supplying the narcotic of dependency. And just like any addict, they will resent you for it. They will hate you for the very thing they need from you. Because deep down, in the darkest part of their subconscious, they know you are crippling them. They know that your help is actually a vote of no confidence. Imagine a child learning to walk. They wobble. They fall. They cry. If you carry them everywhere to save them from falling, they will never walk. You will have a 20-year-old who crawls. Is that kindness? Or is that cruelty? You have to ask yourself a brutal question. Are you helping them because they need it, or because you can't handle watching them struggle? It is painful to watch someone we care about crash. It hurts to see them lose money. It hurts to see them heartbroken. It hurts to see them humiliated. But that pain is not yours to take. When you intervene, you are engaging in emotional colonization. You are occupying their experience. You are saying, "This lesson is too big for you, so I will take it." You have to give it back. You have to return the pain to its rightful owner. This means you stop paying the bail. This means you stop lying to cover their tracks. This means you stop waking them up for work. This means you stop fixing the typos. You let the typo go to print. You let the boss scream. You let the shame burn. Because that shame, that burn, that is the fuel for transformation. Without the burn, there is no change. You have been acting as a heat shield, absorbing the reentry friction for them. And look at you now. You are scorched. You are exhausted. You are burnt out. And they are down there, soft and unformed, wondering why the world is so mean. You did this. By refusing to let them hang, you have denied them the resurrection that comes after the death of the ego. You have denied them the chance to say, I messed up, and I fixed it. There is no pride in being saved. There is only relief. But there is immense pride in surviving a fall. Stop stealing their pride. Stop stealing their growth. Stop stealing their life. If you truly love them, if you truly want them to succeed, you have to love them enough to let them bleed. You have to love them enough to do nothing. It is the hardest thing you will ever do. It goes against every instinct in your body. But it is the only way to break the cycle. Step back. Put your hands in your pockets. And watch. Let the consequences arrive. Let the lesson land. Let the teacher enter the room. And get out of the way. Here is the end of the road. You are standing at a fork in the path, and you have a binary choice to make. This is not a choice you make once. It is a choice you will have to make 10 times a day, every day, for the rest of your life. Option A. You stay in the pattern. You keep correcting. You keep fixing. You keep throwing your body on the gears of their machine to stop it from grinding. And let me tell you exactly where this ends. 5 years from now, you are exhausted. Your hair is graying from stress that isn't even yours. You are bitter. You look at the people you love, and you don't feel love anymore. You feel resentment. You feel like a hostage to their incompetence. And they hate you too. They see you as a tyrant, a nag, a joy kill. They hide things from you. They lie to you because they can't handle your help. You die right, but you die alone. Option B. You become the watcher. You step off the field. You climb the wall. You sit down and you watch. This is the path of the stoic. This is the path of the strategist. You realize that you are not the captain of their soul. You are not the master of their fate. You are just a fellow traveler. To take this path, you need to change your operating system today. Right now, here is the protocol. When the urge to correct rises in your throat, and it will, you are going to physically stop yourself. You are going to press your tongue to the roof of your mouth. You are going to take a breath, and you are going to say the 3 magic words of the watcher. That is interesting. Not that is wrong. Not you should do this. Just, that is interesting. I'm going to spend our savings on crypto. That is interesting. I think I can drive home after these drinks. That is interesting. I'll take an Uber. You acknowledge the data, but you refuse to process it for them. You refuse to take ownership of the outcome. This is the discipline of detachment. It is going to feel unnatural. It is going to feel like you are letting them die. But remember the rope metaphor. You aren't killing them. You are giving them the only chance they have to actually live. You are giving them the dignity of their own risks. When you become the watcher, something shifts in the room. People stop fighting you because there is nothing to fight. They stop resisting you because you aren't pushing. And strangely, they start listening. When you speak only once a month, people listen to that sentence as if it were the word of God. Your scarcity creates value. Your silence creates weight. You will see them crash. You will see the mistakes happen. And when they do, you will not flinch. You will not say, I told you so. You will not rush in with the mop. You will stand there, solid and calm, and you will ask, so, what did you learn? That is the only question that matters. You are done being the savior. The savior is a vanity project. The savior is a martyr. You are the mirror. You are the wall. You are the gravity. Let them run their course. Let them make their mess. Let them hang themselves on the specific loops of their own logic. And if they survive, if they claw their way back up the rope, they will have muscles you didn't give them. They will have wisdom you couldn't teach them. They will be real. And if they don't, if they fall, then that was their destiny. And no amount of you screaming from the passenger seat could have changed it. Release the wheel. Release the need to be right. Release the need to be the hero. Sit back, watch, and let the silence do the work.